I recently witnessed a family situation that left me deeply saddened, especially for the children caught in the middle. There's a father who clearly adores the children connected to his current wife, but completely neglects his other biological kids. Seeing him get emotional about one daughter, Aurora, while expressing so much pride was hard to watch, especially knowing the rest of his children are quietly craving even a fraction of that love. Worse still is that he doesn't appear to care or even notice what his actions do to them. He's more interested in what he desires instead of what his children really need emotionally and mentally. Everything always comes back to him and his new wife, Robyn. Her kids are treated as if they are special, while the rest are nearly an afterthought. The emotional disconnect is agonizing to witness. Robyn appears to be okay with this arrangement. She does not admit the damage that is being caused, perhaps because the existing situation benefits her. The whole thing begins to feel more like a play than an actual family setting. Even the dramatic scenes with Aurora feel artificial, bringing to the forefront how blatant the favoritism is. In the meantime, the excluded children aren't just feeling neglected, they're grieving the loss of the father they imagined they would have. His attention to the adopted children creates further complication. He's highly attentive to them on the surface, but it also seems like a means of exerting power, as though he's attempting to show that he's superior to the natural father. That's a power-based parenting style rather than a loving one. The comparison is dramatic. His biological older children are encouraged to mature early and fend for themselves, but the adopted children stay home with heightened care and protection. It's an unhealthy disparity that causes a lot of worry. Aurora herself looks emotionally vulnerable. Some are concerned she may be in need of professional aid to assist her with anxiety and emotional well-being. She appears to be dependent, requiring approval for making personal choices such as baptism. It's difficult to see her being displayed this way, particularly while her father also appears pleased at how little he offers his other kids. His love seems conditional, awarded to those who remain silent and submissive, withheld from those who question or stand against him. That's not love founded on respect, that's love built on obedience. Robyn also appears to have a great deal of control. Numerous people have commented on how she demands perfection from her daughters, and that they accept this man totally as their father. It's less like direction and more like coercion, and it's had a lasting effect on them. There's an emotional manipulation that is very disturbing. What really strikes home is how ubiquitous this dynamic is. It plays out in a recurring, agonizing pattern. The older man leaves his initial family, begins anew with a younger wife and new children, but refuses to release the past. He holds his first family hostage to his dysfunction, and in so doing, inflicts lasting damage. And as always, the biggest victims are the kids. It's an unhealthy, complicated web, one that creates a trail of heartache, particularly for the children who are left on the outside looking in. These children are not only ignored, they are emotionally benched as their father displays affection publicly with other people. To see him tightly hug Aurora in front of the cameras while scarcely greeting his other children is like a knife to one's heart. It all seems intentional, like it's designed to make the others feel less than, like they could never measure up. And you can't help but pity them. Think about growing up and seeing your very own father give love and attention to a new family, hardly looking in your direction. That kind of rejection festers. It's not lack of presence, it's absence of emotional presence. That wound doesn't heal easily, if ever. All of this raises very serious questions about the long-term impact on these children. Can they recover? Can they construct healthy, meaningful lives beyond this dysfunction? It also causes you to consider how complicated family dynamics get when love is withheld as a lever, granted conditionally, defined by favoritism, manipulation, and lingering insecurities. At the center of all this is a strained and emotionally conflicted relationship between Cody and his children. particularly Isabel, Aurora, and Maddie. It all boiled down to when Isabel had to undergo major spinal surgery. It was a serious, life-altering procedure. Nevertheless, even though the moment was as critical as it got, Cody did not attend to her. Compare that with how he acted when away from Aurora for only 10 days. He was clearly upset, tearfully upset even. It's difficult not to see the double standard. Both girls are his daughters. Why so much of a difference in how he behaves towards them? Maddie, Cody's fur. Cody's not being present at Isabel's surgery was reflective of a larger emotional imbalance. While one daughter endured a significant medical crisis without him, his involvement with Aurora was more a reflection of his need to be needed than any true bonding. Aurora is typically depicted as emotionally immature, maintained in this childlike state, something that definitely was within Cody's comfort zone. It's easier to dominate and be needed when a child still depends. For years, Maddie was the apparent favorite. She was opinionated, frank, and strong-willed, traits Cody initially liked. Her marriage to Caleb was accepted, particularly because Cody liked Caleb. But as soon as Maddie started asserting herself and questioning his orders, the vibe changed. The affection cooled. Cody even complained that she gossiped, normal behavior among siblings in a family of her size, calling it betrayal instead of communication. The indications of unease could already be seen at the time of Maddie's wedding. Cody was aloof, perhaps disapproving since the wedding did not adhere to his religious beliefs. Caleb's dad, who performed the ceremony, contributed to the unease. Most viewers regarded Cody's demeanor at the ceremony as cold and rude, uncharacteristic lack of pride from a father in such a critical moment. This is in contrast to Robyn's kids, who could not be more obviously opposite. Cody is visibly closer to them, and his loving moments with them seem like staged performances. There is a feeling that he is casting himself as the hero of half of the family and emotionally distancing himself from the other half. For those closely observing, it seems less love and more ego. The story Cody and his wives used to try to tell, that he was the rock, devoted family man, is disintegrating. The act has been dropped. What's left is a pattern of favoritism and manipulation. The older children, most of all, have sensed this change. Many have been disappointed, neglected, or even forgotten. One instant that lingered was Isabel's 18th birthday, when Cody himself couldn't even recall her age. That tiny but revealing error told so much about how caught up he was with some of his children. Throughout the pandemic, his insistence on keeping family homes apart, under the guise of protection, only exacerbated feelings of separation. His inflexibility built walls of emotion during a period when they were most desperately required. Essentially, Cody's love is conditional. He loves only those who take direction from him, do not question him, and uphold the image he seeks to maintain. Such love is not based on acceptance and support, but on performance. His other children are left with the emotional burden of losing the larger-than-life figure they had idolized. The larger-than-life man now feels profoundly flawed, and that psychologically hurts terribly. Still, another twist to the narrative comes when you consider the family's abrupt relocation from Las Vegas to Flagstaff. It never felt right the way the move was rushed through, with no actual consultation among the wives. As the event unfolded, it was apparent that much more was at play behind the scenes. The relocation seemed to be meant to accommodate one wife's convenience. Everybody else had to pay the cost, forfeiting their financial stability, homes, and sense of security. The explanations were sketchy. One was that Dayton, one of Robyn's kids, had been admitted to college in Flagstaff. Arizona's offer of free or cheap education to residents provided a dose of reason. The family's television show was also in trouble, its ratings dwindling and paychecks growing smaller. Cody felt that moving might be able to keep the show on life support for another season or two. Another more practical consideration? The wake of a mass shooting at Las Vegas. With gun legislation likely to become stricter, Cody's side business, which entails guns, would suffer. Arizona, with its less restrictive regulations, provided greater flexibility and shield for that aspect of his income. But the further you look, the more this action appears not to have been about the family at all. It was about a handful of convenience, image, and control for some at many others' expense. Drilling deeper, some observers noted that Arizona really does not have free college tuition, despite the implication. By all accounts, it can be very costly to go to college there. Thus, while Dayton's enrollment might have played a role, it obviously wasn't the entire explanation for the relocation. More plausibly, it was a convenient cover story for a much more sophisticated and deliberate choice. Some suspected that the real reason for moving to Flagstaff was to consolidate the family fortune. More to the point, to commingle the equity in the Las Vegas houses into one piece of property. And that piece of property, coincidentally perhaps, was precisely where Robyn wished to be. The arrangement seemed a calculated one that although